Once upon a time, there was a little boy who lived in a very special house. It was different from your house and my house. It had a basement, which is not unusual, but when he went down to the basement, it was a stone basement, which was pretty cool in and of itself. But off in the corner, there was a stone in the wall. If you pushed it, a door opened up. And if you walked through that door, you'd find a spiral staircase. And that spiral staircase would take you down into another basement. A basement beneath the basement, as it were. Well, one day this little boy did just that. He went to the basement below the basement. And when he did, one of the interesting things that happened when he got there is that the torches on the wall all lit up as soon as he walked in. It always did that, but he never got tired of seeing that happen. It was pretty cool. Now, he had explored this basement below the basement many times, but he decided he was going to look around some more, because no matter what, he always seemed to find something new, something he hadn't seen before when he went and searched through these rooms. Now, he went into a room that he had been in many times, and he noticed a small door on the side over on the wall. So he walked up to it and opened it up and walked into another small room. And there in that small room, when the torches lit up, it was a round room. Pretty small, but in the middle was a stone table. Now, the basement below the basement was full of stone tables, and on each table was something very interesting. And most of them were magical. Matter of fact, basically all of them were magical. And most of them would take you somewhere special. Like, there was a lamp that would take you to a place called the Magic Parks. There was a book that would take you to a black castle in a place called the Halloween Street. And many other things that would take you many other places. There was a mirror on the wall with a gold frame around it that would take you to a place called the Enchanted House. But he had never been in this room before, and as he went into this room, he saw on that round stone table in the middle a watch made entirely of glass. But it wasn't just regular glass. It was a strange kind of glass that seemed like it was glass that was made out of gold. He looked at it, and it was beautiful. It looked like a pocket watch. It had a beautiful chain on it and everything. And he looked at it for a little while, because he knew as soon as he touched it that at least it was very likely that it would take him someplace that he'd never been before. And so he wanted to have a good look at it first before he picked it up and was transported to wherever he was going to end up going. And so he looked at it. It seemed to be ticking. He looked at the watch on his wrist and realized that this pocket watch made out of gold glass showed the same time as his watch did. I thought that was interesting. Since it was made of gold glass and you could see through the glass, he could see all the gears clicking and meshing and turning inside. And now that he had had a chance to look at it, he reached out and grabbed it. And as soon as he did, he found himself suddenly not standing on stone, but standing on what felt like a sidewalk. He looked around, and he found that he was in a big field, but it was strange. Everything seemed to be gray. And as he walked around, he saw a watermelon, but it was made completely of stone. Not stone, but concrete. He couldn't pick it up because it was so heavy. He looked around, and it seemed that everything in this strange and now seemingly kind of dark and unpleasant world seemed to be made out of concrete. The trees were concrete. The fruit was concrete. The grass was concrete. He even saw a few very strange buildings that seemed to be made of concrete. Buildings of a design he'd never seen or never even imagined before. And he got the feeling he was on a different planet, and that something horrible had happened on this planet. He looked at the watch that he still had in his hand, and he turned it over, and he read some things written on it. There was a lot written there, but as he read it, it basically told him that this took him to a world that had long since been turned to darkness. Nothing lived on this world anymore. And there, time was frozen, because everything had been turned to something like concrete. The boy didn't think he wanted to be there anymore. And he certainly didn't want to see what had happened to the people. He didn't want to see any concrete people. That didn't sound very pleasant to him. So, he looked at the watch. It told him how to get back. All he had to do was wind the watch back. And that's what he did. And when he did wind the watch, he found himself back in that circular room. He put the watch down, and he walked out of the room and closed it. Closed the door. He looked around and he saw a key hanging next to the door. He took the key and he locked the door. And when he did, the door disappeared. It was suddenly just a stone wall again. He kept the key, though. Figured it might come in handy sometime. But he didn't want to go back there again. He didn't like the idea of a world that had ended like that. And he hoped that nothing like that would ever happen to his world. And he decided maybe he would go look around at the other tables and maybe go for a visit to the magic parks. Because, boy, at this point he really could use a piece of pie in the pie room. Especially after being in a dead world. The end.